Hi, and welcome to the DNA-based nutrition presentation. This is the same as the webinar we did last night. I'm going to run through it without questions so we can go through the content. So thank you so much for being here. I'm Maria. I'm an Olympic gymnast and a nutrition and mindset coach and a certified health coach. And so let's talk about DNA today. That's what we're going to do. I'm super excited to share with you all of this info. All right, so make sure you have your notes. And let's do it. DNA-based nutrition, how to eat, train, supplement the way your body is designed. So first, in a quick introduction to my programs, Let's Be Fit Today and the Powerful Athlete, my 4 secrets so that nutrition and health are not that difficult and are not like overwhelming or difficult to actually put into practice. If you know these 4 things and do them, it should be pretty simple. First, leverage the power of nutrition. You can get faster, stronger, healthier, and overall increase your energy by using the power of nutrition. Secret number 2, develop an invincible mindset. Once you learn how to identify limiting beliefs and start to substitute them with empowering beliefs, you will see how you can basically soar way higher than you had imagined. Secret number 3 is eat and train and rest for your body's unique needs. And that's the content that we'll be sharing today. And number 4, learn stress-free healthy eating, one simple habit at a time. So rather than have a goal to change multiple things or be very extreme, like I'm going to give up sugar. If it's something that is very hard for you or that you're currently having a whole lot of sugar, instead of going from 0 to 100, kind of like on or off night and day, I recommend that you do small changes and you do it gradually. And it's going to be easier for you to do it. You're going to start to reap the benefits of those small changes, and it's more likely going to be something sustainable. So those are my 4 secrets from Let's Be Fit Today and the Powerful Athlete. So let's move right along to today's presentation, right? DNA-based nutrition. We're going to be looking at that. Now, these are twins. These are actually my twins. They are now 20 years old, but these kids are actually fraternal. So even though they're twins and siblings, they have different genetic makeup that is different. Only identical twins have the same DNA. So today we're going to talk on 3 different topics. First, personalized nutrition versus one size fits all. Second, the genetic factors and using your DNA report. And third, how to order your DNA test and what's nutrition and mindset coaching. So your medicine, my poison. I have an uncle who told me, as I was talking about the wonderful benefits of papaya, digestive enzymes, hydration, vitamins, antioxidants, and I was giving all these examples. They make all these creams and different supplements and, creams for the face, right? To make your skin radiant and beautiful and things for the hair. And I was just going on and on about all the benefits of papaya. And he said, if I have papaya, like after 5 or 6 p.m., I can feel it fermenting in my stomach all night long. I feel horrible and I can't sleep. I thought that was pretty extreme. But we do see that sometimes my medicine is your poison and vice versa, right? Even within the plant-based versus animal protein debate, we see some people claim that they've never had better health and they feel amazing and they're young and they feel energetic thanks to not having any animal products. And then we go to the carnivore diet and we see people claiming that they feel amazing and they're in health and they're, just living a wonderful, healthy, vibrant life because they are eating animal protein. Okay, so some people are going to have different needs. And so it's very important to find out what your body is actually going to need. Okay, so this is very different from a cookie cutter approach. And that's section 1. Let's go to section 2. This is the interesting topic for the day. We're going to look at 6 factors. Okay, and I'm going to be basing this portion of the presentation on my genetics report. Okay, so I did a test with Molecular Labs and ID Life. There are HIPAA-compliant companies. One is a lab in the state of Washington, and one is a vitamins and supplements company. They're HIPAA-compliant. That means they don't share your information. And so I printed out my report, And in this report, I get to see a lot of things about my body. So for purposes of time and to just give you a brief introduction, I'm not going to be covering 46 pages of the report during this presentation. There are many, many variables seen that I won't cover, but I'm going to focus on 6 today. And then you'll have my contact information and we can definitely connect if you're interested in more. So first, let's talk about muscle performance, sprint or endure. So this is David Popovici. He was a medalist at the Olympics in Paris, and I've actually seen him compete at Junior World Championships in Lima, Peru. He is an amazing person and an amazing athlete, and we know that he has a lot of fast twitch muscle fiber. This is Usain Bolt, okay? Fastest man on the planet. 15 years ago or 16, I'm not sure how many, he set a new world record. And it still stands. It's 9.58, fastest runner in the 100-meter hurdle. So these athletes definitely have a lot of fast twitch muscle fiber. What does that mean? A good part of the performance of your muscle is going to be based on the type of fiber that it has. So if you have slow twitch muscle fiber or type 1 muscle fiber, this is a slower speed of contraction, but it has higher endurance. So people who have a lot of slow twitch muscle fiber would have a little bit of an innate talent for not getting tired, all right? They can go on a longer amount of time exerting themselves or exercising, if you will, than people with slow twitch muscle fiber. Now, fast twitch muscle fiber or type 2 has a protein in it, right? It has alpha-actinin 3, so that's how they can identify that type of protein in muscle fiber. And this fiber, just as its name suggests, it's going to move quickly and it's going to be more powerful, but it's also going to get tired a little bit more quickly. Now, there is adaptability, of course, but for purposes of this genetics test, we're only looking at what you received from mom and dad. So this is called the genetic predisposition, okay? And so this is what we have, and this is me. Let me put this aside. So I have some fast twitch muscle fiber and I have some slow twitch muscle fiber. This means that I will do my best in movement and exercise when that exercise combines all of my muscle fiber, combines my fast twitch and combines my slow twitch. So this dotted line, you can see that when the speed and power curve intersects the endurance curve is right in the middle. Okay. And in terms of the genes, I have one functional copy of the sprint gene. Now, other people, such as 2 of my daughters, are actually built as sprinters. They have 2 functional copies of the sprint gene, and that means that they have a whole lot of fast twitch muscle fiber in their bodies. So they're likely to do well at things that are shorter duration, but getting their heart rate up really high, but not sustaining it for a long time. They're going to be able to do some things such as karate or Olympic weightlifting or running short distances or swimming short distances. They're going to excel at that more naturally than they would the long distances. Now, here's a woman from my home country, from Guatemala. She is Andrea Cardona. She has actually made it to the summit of Mount Everest. She's actually climbed all of the 7 tall peaks of the world. And so which muscle fiber do you think she has, or which profile? Does she have 2 sprint genes, 1 sprint gene, or 0 sprint genes? Little trivia there. And yes, you probably guessed correctly. So Andrea is the 3rd profile. She has 0 functional copies of the sprint gene. A lot of the fiber in her body is slow twitch muscle fiber. So as you can see, her curve or her dotted line is way on the right because her performance for endurance-based activities is much better than activities that require speed and power. And that's muscle performance. So a lot of the people I work with are athletes. Some of them are runners, tennis players, gymnasts, a lot of swimmers, divers. So someone like Katie Ledecky probably has this profile, right? She has a lot of slow twitch muscle fiber. And then your sprinters, such as Kayla Dressel, they probably have the other one, where we saw the 2 functional copies of the sprint gene. So this could be interesting, and it might shed light on what events or what sports you're most likely to excel at naturally. Let's go to our second variable. This is called sensitivity to carbohydrates. And here's a picture, a really nice picture of a lot of different carbohydrates. So whether they're simple carbs or complex carbs, genetically we can understand how our body responds to carbohydrates. Because some people have genes that just means that they don't process the carbs as efficiently as others. So they could have a higher risk of issues like weight gain or insulin resistance. And that's just something that's genetic. For me, this is the page in my report in this section. So I have medium sensitivity to carbohydrates. Okay. This just means that I have a certain reaction in my body for their use. And so what the report is suggesting to me is that I have a maximum of 9% of my calories coming in from refined carbs. So as you probably know, the refined carbs are the ones that have been processed. So for example, your white bread instead of your whole grain bread would be a refined carb. And here they're giving an example or a suggestion. So Maria, you have medium sensitivity to carbs. If you need 2,000 calories, so they're just giving some scenarios here. You have to determine what your caloric needs are. But if you have 2,000 calories and you're like average in terms of your activity level, then we recommend a glycemic load of 150. So you use the index, right? There's an appendix here that shows you the glycemic index and the glycemic load of a bunch of foods. And you use this, probably just Google all these things nowadays anyway, but I like having my report printed so I can refer to it quickly and easily and just make sure that I'm getting the right amount. Now, if you're an athlete, you need a lot of carbohydrates, most likely. And so we can get pretty smart and pretty wise at timing them. Okay, so when do we take in which type of carbohydrate to make sure we have energy to fuel your training and your competition, and that we have enough carbohydrate to support muscle recovery after training, but that we don't create any type of reaction that could potentially cause inflammation. Here's someone else who has a high sensitivity to carbohydrates. So if genetically you have, they would probably recommend that you don't have more than 7% of your calories coming from refined carbs. So there are many different ways to use the results, and I'm just providing some examples here for you. And one of the things that you are probably going to want to learn is glycemic index, because I've mentioned glycemic load. So in order to estimate your glycemic load, you got to understand and have glycemic index. And that just means the speed at which a food that has carbohydrates that is turned into sugar and how quickly that sugar raises the sugar level in the blood, how quickly it gets into the bloodstream. So if something like a potato or white bread, for example, when you eat that and you eat it alone, like with no fiber, protein, or fat, if you eat like just a slice of white bread, you're going to absorb it. And that is going to go, that sugar, into the bloodstream pretty quickly. Okay. So if it goes higher than 70, if it's 70 to 100, then it's considered a high glycemic index. That's where you see the red curve. Then you have a moderate 55 to 70, and foods that have a low glycemic index, those are going to be absorbed very slowly. So the sugar is going to be entering the blood slowly, and that is a low glycemic index. Sometimes we need to use this strategically. You might be someone who needs to use or needs to take in high glycemic foods at certain moments, especially if you want to absorb some of the sugar quickly because you have certain events coming up or certain competitions. So it's important to understand these terms and not like blanket statements. It's not like high GI is good and is bad and low GI is good, right? We don't make blanket statements. We understand what each concept means, and then we learn how to use it as per each particular situation. And I like this graphic as well. As you can see, orange juice with no pulp will give you, in one serving, 43 milligrams of vitamin C, 25 grams of sugar, 120 calories, and 0 fiber. Whereas if you drink a glass of water and eat an orange, for example, you're getting 69 milligrams more vitamin C than in the glass, 9 grams of sugar, which is less than half of what the glass had, 45 calories and 3 grams of fiber. Okay, so the orange, the glycemic index of the orange is going to be lower because it will be absorbing more slowly, right? It has fiber here and no added sugars. And in addition, it just has like a healthier profile. Now, if you need a whole lot of calories, then you're going to have to take something else because some people are looking for an increase in calories and 45 might be too little. Finally, let's go over to sensitivity to fats. So they don't have a scale such as a glycemic index, but we do know that some people are able to break down and use fat for health and for energy more efficiently than others. And unfortunately, I am not one of the efficient ones. I have high sensitivity to fats, so I would not benefit from doing a ketogenic diet. If I do a keto diet, which is very, very high in fats and very low in carbohydrate, I would probably not feel very good. This could be detrimental to my health for sure, because I don't take a whole lot of fat very well. Definitely not as much as other people in the population. Now, within the fats macronutrient, of course, all of us, even people with a green marker or low sensitivity, we would all benefit from having more salmon, healthy fats, and more chia seeds and flax seeds and avocado and walnuts. And we would probably all benefit from having healthier fats versus a whole lot of saturated fats and certainly trans fats. But even within the healthy fats segment or type of food, I don't need that many portions as other people, such as the ones that have low sensitivity. So we can take that into account as we're creating our eating or nutrition strategy. Let's go to another variable, appetite. Some people have a really high appetite, right? Ever since they're little, like, oh my gosh, he has such a big appetite. Or she has such a small appetite, right? A lot of parents worry. I can't get her to eat. I can't get him to eat. And they're always worried because their kid doesn't seem to have an appetite. There are many things that could impact appetite, health, whether they're having enough fiber, whether they're hydrated, whether they're sleeping well, what type of medication you're taking. But some of it is actually mandated by genes. And there's not one gene, right? There are many genes that could impact your appetite. At least 4 of them are considered for the effects of this report. So the appetite is the desire to eat, and satiety is the sensation of fullness. Okay. And these two are actually influenced by factors, including the regulatory signals from the gut to the brain. Okay. In one of my workshops, we cover a lot of the gut brain connection. We're not going to do it today, but just remember that the gut is considered the second brain, and it's got at least 70% of the immunity of your body. So everyone's paying attention to gut health. And I recommend that you pay attention as well. So I have an increased appetite. Okay. You see that little arrow in the yellow section. So that I don't overeat, they recommend that I wait at least 20 minutes before going for seconds. So once I have a nice adequate plate, which I like to call a nice abundant plate with my fat, my protein, and my carbohydrate, then, and I actually do eat very quickly, then I can learn to eat more slowly, or I can be very intentional about waiting. Okay. When I'm done eating, I wait. And then a little bit later, maybe 20 minutes later, I see if I'm still hungry, then I can have some more. But chances are that within those 20 minutes, now my brain has actually received the signal that I'm full. Okay. So my stomach has been able to send the signal. The brain has actually received it. So, hey, stop eating, Maria, you're full. One of my favorite tools is the hunger scale. As you can see, we have a scale from 1 to 10. At one extreme, you're super hungry. Over here, you're starving. You're feeling weak and dizzy. And here on number 10, you are so full that you feel sick. So ideally, we can stay within the green and yellow, right? We can stay within the 4, 5, 6, 7, or maybe make it to the light orange, but we don't want to fall into the extremes. Okay. If we wait too long between meals, or we have a very, very small meal and we don't eat enough, we could get hungry, and we could get pretty hungry, and then we could get very hungry where we're irritable, we don't have energy, we can't concentrate, we certainly can't train. Maybe your stomach is growling, you're definitely impatient and very annoyed, at any little thing someone says, right? You're more likely to bite someone's head off if they say something that disturbs you. And at that moment, once you do eat, you're going to tend to overeat. And over here, something that happens is that we as a society usually go for slightly uncomfortable or feeling stuffed. If it tastes good, I'll just have more. I'll just have more. I'll just have more because it tastes so good. So we have to get a little bit better at regulating that. Okay. We can eat it, we can enjoy it, but you want to stop at a 6 or potentially a 7. A lot of times for people who have a very high appetite and who might tend to overeat, I recommend PFC every 3. So have a food or a snack at least every 3 hours. Sometimes I snack 2.5 hours in between my last meal or snack. Okay. So if you're someone with a high hunger gene or genetics, then you might want to be snacking strategically to avoid getting to the extreme of hunger where you're going to probably overeat. Now let's go to the next one, which is recovery. This is a very interesting recovery, and this was very personal to me because when I trained as a gymnast for 3 or 4 years in my career, we trained 33 hours a week. So I was consistently and constantly tired. I think Monday was the day that I felt okay and not sore. And the rest of the week, I was in a lot of pain. Okay, so DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, it's a soreness that starts or that you feel in your body 12 to 72 hours after you start a new exercise or increase the intensity, frequency, resistance, or duration of your training. If you're training and you are feeling very sore and you're suffering from delayed onset muscle soreness, if done properly, training could actually contribute to you feeling better. It can speed up the recovery process by shuttling blood, and the blood has oxygen and nutrients to repair the muscle tissue that's tired. So that's why your coaches are really good at this. They're really good at thinking of how to help you train in a way that you're going to maximize the benefits from your training while minimizing fatigue and injury. You might need a recovery practice more often than someone else. And that's exactly what you need to learn. And genetics can tell you, and also, listening to your body. Unfortunately for me, this was me. Genetically, I am designed to recover very slowly. So this allowed me to understand 4 years ago when I did my genetics assessment, I understood why during my teen years when I was a gymnast, and then afterwards when I did other things like martial arts, why I seemed to be so sore all the time. It's because my body needed more rest than it was getting, and I was not recovering adequately. And finally, for the last section of our presentation, genetic predisposition to vitamin needs. So we're going to look at vitamins A, B6, D, E, B12, and folate. Okay, these vitamins are actually included in this genetics assessment. And once again, I want to explain that even though I have increased clearance for B6, as you can see here in this arrow in the yellow, I metabolize it very quickly. My body gets rid of it. That doesn't mean that I'm low in B6. If I went to get blood work today, we would see if my B6 levels are low or not. We would find out, right? Especially if a doctor or I am suspicious because of certain symptoms that I could be low in B6. This just means, because it's a genetics test that gives you your genetic predisposition, it just means that I am genetically predisposed to require more B6 than other people. Okay. So I have to be intentional. And it's a good thing that I already take in a lot of the foods in this chart, right? I would say probably every single week I have tuna, salmon, turkey. I don't have pork. I do have beef, chicken, usually chicken breast or another part of the chicken, garbanzo beans, not every week. I have brown rice almost every week. Banana, cooked spinach for sure, avocado almost daily, and sunflower seeds. So it's very likely that because I'm intentional about having these foods, I'm getting enough vitamin B6. And that's what we need to do, right? Vitamins or supplements are meant to fill in the gaps. We want to try to get as much as your nutrition, fill all your nutritional needs from food, and then we use vitamins and supplements, not as a substitute, but as a complement. And so now moving on to folate. And here's where I'm going to take a long time because I think this is really important. So folate is B9. When I was pregnant, I took folic acid, right? Because my gynecologist told me, and all pregnant women take folic acid. But folic acid and folate are not literally the same thing, even though most people use them interchangeably. So a few years ago, I learned that folic acid is a synthetic, man-made, cheap version of folate. And it's not methylated. Okay. It's not in the form that it comes in the food. Okay. Your methylated folate is what is actually in your leafy greens. So I am okay because genetically speaking, I have standard requirements, which means I don't have a mutation. You can see this here on the MTHFR gene. So I have normal folate metabolism, so I can convert other forms and use it. This is me on the left, right here. Let me go back. Right there. But some people have a mutation, so they have slightly increased requirements. And some people have highly increased requirements of folate, and so they're not able to obtain their folate from folic acid because their bodies don't convert it adequately. And actually, my children are here. This is the profile of my children, the one in the center. So what happens is that methylation is not being done as quickly or as efficiently if you have genetic mutations, including the MTHFR gene. Methylation is a metabolic process. Okay. You know that there's about 60 billion chemical reactions in your body every minute. That's how busy your body is. And methylation is a switch that turns genes on and off, and it repairs DNA and RNA. And it's one of the most important processes in your system. So without proper methylation processes, you're likely to get sick. And it could be something big, have some deeper problems like stroke or problems with fertility, or it could be something small like changes in your mood, fluctuations in your mood, a little bit of brain fog, and obviously some of that low but very, very long-term chronic inflammation. So some people they laugh and they make all these comments because the MTHFR gene, it actually codes for methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase. Okay. But nobody says that. Everybody just says MTHFR. But because this gene is so important, because it affects all of these things here, then they call it the mother F gene, right? Because it's got the same letters as a famous word. So a lot of people are talking about the importance of the gene. And I was not aware of this until a few years ago. And actually, we had an experience that made me definitely need to learn about it and actually become, I would say, a bit of an expert in it. Because one person in my family came down with autoimmune disease. And you might know that autoimmune disease affects 8% of the US populations. And it's more likely to affect women. Okay. So leaky gut syndrome is common for people with an MTHFR gene variant. So this genetic mutation is associated with a higher risk of having an autoimmune disease. And there's many of them. I don't know, there's like 70 or 80 autoimmune diseases. And the gist of it is that the body overreacts, right? And it gets confused over a trigger that is no longer there, or maybe the trigger is there all the time. And now the body can't stop attacking itself. So in the case of lupus, the body is attacking the joints. Okay. So poor methylation means that toxins have difficulty being removed from the body. So even though your body has organs to remove toxins like the liver and the kidneys and the colon is doing it as well, and we're doing it with our lungs, when we breathe and through the sweat as well, sometimes the body gets overwhelmed or has a little bit of a difficult time, genetically speaking, can be one of the risks. So this is my daughter, Isabel. This is Isa. This was Isa when we moved to Texas from Guatemala. She was healthy. She was actually getting diagnosed in the moment. She was feeling awful, and she had like an inflamed knee that was very, very inflamed and warm. And then it would go away. And then a couple of days later, it was the ankle, and then it was the elbow. So it was always in the joints. And after many, many tests, they determined that she had lupus, this autoimmune disease. And so she started taking, we put her on the medication that the doctors recommended, suppressing her immune system and giving her a steroid. And so 60 milligrams of prednisone caused her to feel and look terrible. She was exhausted. Look at that. That's inflammation in her face and her body. And she was sleeping 10, 11, 12 hours per night, and she would still wake up and feel so tired that she couldn't get up to go to school. She grew hair on her back because it was the effect of the steroid, and she was just tired all the time and feeling horrible. So we actually went to a functional doctor, and she helped us. We had to do a very, very severe reboot of the immune system using some high quality medication. Well, actually, the arthritis doctor was giving her the medication. We started taking high quality supplements, including probiotics, digestive enzymes, and they did a very, very, very strict diet. And thank God it started to turn things around. So when she started feeling better within days, then this 14-year-old decided she was buying in to this new diet, right? And so we were supposed to do a lot of things like lower her exercise level. So she was getting the benefits of exercise, but not the oxidative stress of intense exercise. And, seeing about dishing our detergent, for a higher quality detergent that doesn't have all those toxins in it, the cream, the lotion that you use on your body, the soap and whatnot. So there are many things to do to help somebody who has an autoimmune disease. And thankfully it worked. And so the doctors were able to reduce her medication. And she now takes 3 milligrams, which is her maintenance dose of what used to be a 60 milligram dose that had her sick. And we also do a liver cleansing about every year and check her eyes. Okay. So if you have an MTHFR mutation, don't panic. I said, no stress, right? At least 44% of the population has some form of MTHFR mutation. So these are things you can do. You can supplement with pre-methylated B vitamins. You can avoid folic acid, right? You can eat foods that are rich in all of the B vitamins because they help each other, right? You need one type of B vitamin to make sure the uptake or absorption of another one is working adequately. And you need to reduce your toxic burden. Like I said, that's a good idea. You need to do breathing exercises if you can, and try to get high quality clean water. Okay, these are some things that are important so that you can manage the effects of your MTHFR mutations. And for swimmers, please, please, please take care of your skin. Okay, wash off the chlorine from your skin. Please do not go swim, leave the chlorine in your skin, dry off, get dressed, and go through the rest of your day. Okay, wash the chlorine off and be intentional. Find a high quality, clean, oily lotion so that you can apply to your skin, and just try to make sure that natural oil in the skin is not completely eliminated as a side effect of the chlorine. So that's advice specifically for swimmers. And going back to this, if you have an MTHFR mutation, which would be the second and the third graphs, don't consume folic acid. Get the methylated version of folate if you're supplementing, and eat a lot of foods with folate if you can. I did this with my little girl. We went to the grocery store. We didn't do it well. We did a pantry cleanse or clean up, but we also did a supermarket tour where we were reading the label, right? We were reading the label, and we were finding that a lot of foods are actually fortified with folic acid. So they don't add the folate version, the methylated folate. They add the one I told you, right? The folic acid, non-methylated, synthetic, cost-effective or cheaper version. Okay. So we want to say bye-bye, or at least be very careful about how much we're putting into our bodies of folic acid and of cyanocobalamin, which is synthetic B9 and synthetic B12. Okay. So cyanocobalamin comes from cyanide, right? They add a cyanide group in the molecule so that it binds to it and it helps to bring it into your body and absorb it. Okay. It's used in most supplements and prescription drugs. Supposedly, the body removes the bit of cyanide and detoxes it during conversion. As you convert it so that you can absorb it, it's supposedly non-toxic and is eliminated by the kidneys. Unless it's not. Okay. So that's why I always say, well, how much are you getting? Are you having 4, 5, 6 products or supplements with cyanocobalamin? Because that's a lot more than one. Are you having them daily? Do you have a genetic mutation, such as MTHFR, which makes it harder for you to convert? Or possibly you're not even converting this adequately. And so you're actually receiving that cyanide and you're potentially not ridding your body of it. Okay. So I wouldn't want to take that risk. And I don't actually, my kids, I try to make sure that they don't have anything with cyanocobalamin. So you can do a pantry check as well, right? Get smart or get well versed at reading some of the labels. Okay. Folic acid is in Flintstones. Maybe you want to opt for another vitamin or reach out to me. Mac and cheese. Okay. With my daughter in the aisle of the grocery store, she was like, oh my gosh, my mac and cheese has folic acid. Yes. So don't panic. Try to find another food source or mac and cheese that doesn't have folic acid. Okay. So a lot of products are going to be, first of all these products have a whole lot of ingredients, right? And some of them are not food. They're natural flavors, or they are artificial flavors, or they're emulsifiers, or they're additives or preservatives. So as soon as you do scratch or cooking, from home, from scratch, you're going to get rid of all those extra ingredients. But sometimes we need to buy stuff that's already prepared, right? We do that a lot. So let's just try to find the little bit better version. That's what I always say. Celsius. I like the orange flavor, actually. I occasionally have a Celsius, and the B12 in Celsius is in the cyanocobalamin form. Okay, so if you're one of those people who's trying to make some steps in this direction and potentially get rid of these things, then you need to find another energy drink that does not have cyanocobalamin in it. And this is Isabel. She's now taking care of herself in college. She lives by herself. She shops and she cooks for herself because she learned, right? She felt so bad during that year, so bad, so sick and so horrible that for her, it was really, really critical to learn. And then when she learned how to eat and take care of herself, it's got wonderful effects, right? Because her skin clears up. She's obviously on a very, very low amount of medication. She feels good and her energy's good. So these are at least some of the positive side effects of having had that crisis. So once again, my fourth secret, remember, is one simple habit at a time. So don't stress. You don't have to learn to do 48 things at once. Just choose one thing that you could change. Maybe have a little bit more leafy greens. Maybe check what kind of vitamin you're having. Or if you're not taking vitamins, but you're going to start, you already have some parameters now that I've shared with you. Okay. Better, great. I love the strategy. If you have something that's really not giving you a whole lot of nutrition and it has a lot of ingredients that don't work too well for your body, then you might want to take a small step. Instead of saying, I'll never eat chips, I'll never do that, right? That's a little bit extreme. Just opt for a better version, a little bit healthier version of chips, and still enjoy your chips, such as the one in the center. And then eventually you can find other sources. And then at some time you could potentially get your food processor, get some potato and sweet potatoes, slice that up, and then put it in the air fryer or the oven with some olive oil and salt. And then you have your homemade chips. Okay. But the idea is to just relax and decide what you're going to learn. Maybe you're going to learn 1 or 2 things every month, and you're going to start to do it little by little, reap the benefits, reap the rewards, make them habits, and then you can take another bite or start to create another habit or change. So those are my 4 secrets, right? Leverage the power of nutrition, develop an invincible mindset, eat and train for your body's unique needs, which was the content of today's webinar, and learn and apply one simple habit at a time. For more information, please contact me via Instagram. It's Maria at The Powerful Athlete. I have some YouTube videos that I recently started. You can also email me and I'll be super happy to support you. I have a group coaching program starting the 3rd week in September. So you can get on the waiting list now. Maria Ines at letsbefittoday.com. Thank you so much for being with me today, and I hope to see you in the next webinar or presentation. Bye.